All right, well, good evening and welcome to another edition of Behind the Curtain, where we just kind of pull back the curtain of our cabi business and share stories of other stylists. The first Wednesday of every month, we do that. And then the second Wednesday is when we take a deeper dive into how we actually make money as a stylist. So tonight, Amy and I are blessed to have with us Carolyn Stewart. Carolyn began her business last spring, and so she unwittingly began this right before a pandemic hit. So I cannot wait to kind of dig into that and just hear a little bit of your story and the highs and the lows. But before we get into that, Carolyn, tell us just a little bit about yourself. Give us your background on your family, education, just all the stuff.
Okay. My name is Carolyn Stewart, and I live in Lawrence, Kansas. And for those of you who don't know where Lawrence, Kansas is, it's right outside Kansas City. So I am married. I've been married for almost 25 years, and I have a 21-year-old and a 19-year-old, and they're both at college finally. That was hard. That was probably the hardest thing about the pandemic. But yes, Andrew's my oldest, and he's at Wichita State playing baseball and hopefully studying. And my daughter is at Kansas State University, really studying and running track and cross country. So they've always kept us very busy with their athletics. So, but yeah, I've been a stay-at-home. I'm a teacher by degree. I graduated from the University of Kansas with an elementary ed degree, and I taught until the kids were 4 and 2, and my husband really wanted me to stay home with the kids. So I did that, and I tutored on the side until the kids were probably in about high school, and then their athletics just kept us so busy that I couldn't figure out a schedule for them, my tutoring students. So then they went off to college, and obviously they're still doing their sports, but not as a full-on load like they were in high school. So that is when I was approached to jump into the cabi business. And it was a good time at the moment, and it's still a good time. It was just one of those things where it was, uh-oh, what's happening here? Everything was like frozen, literally frozen. But yeah, so that is how it all kind of, my team leader and I've been attending her shows, and I had several shows for her. And she just approached me when Hannah was probably a junior, end of her junior year. And she asked me, and I said, well, let me get through senior year. And so I started shadowing her to see if this was something that would be fun. And yeah, obviously clothes are fun. And that's how it kind of happened. So
yeah. Well, I want to give just a little bit of backstory for those of you that are not familiar with the cabi lingo. But with cabi, we have what we call first season freshmen, and that is the very first season that you conduct your business. And with those first season freshmen, we have a designation. The ultimate that you can do as a first season freshman is become our rookie of the year or the season. And Carolyn was our rookie of the season, her very first season out of the gate, which happened to be spring of 2020, when obviously all heck broke loose in the world and around the globe with our wonderful pandemic. And so that is always an honor to be the rookie of the season. But Carolyn, I just know it just took some extra gumption in spring of last year to make things happen. So I'm a little bit curious, did you hit the ground running in February and like a bunch under your belt before everything kind of went crazy? Or tell us how that unfolded.
okay, so when obviously, again, the cabi lingo, but we all attend it's like a convention called Scoop, and it's twice a year, and it's in January and in July. And so I signed in December to join in, and I went to Scoop in January. And just being at this convention and the excitement, and I mean, it was amazing. And I watched the gal who won Rookie of the Season in fall of 2019. And I looked at my team leader and I said, I want to do that. I want to win that award. And I mean, I didn't know if it would be possible or not. I just was like, this is what I want to do. And so I was fortunate that my team leader had already had some clients here in Lawrence that she passed on to me because she lives in Kansas City and was kind of like taking a little bit of a load off. And so she passed a few clients on to me. And so I knew in February, that's when we could start selling the spring season, that I'm like, okay, let's just get let's get these good clients in here. So I booked my shows and I had an amazing February and first part of March, even the first couple of weeks, actually was the first 2 weeks, because it was right before St. Patrick's Day that everything came, because I had a show that weekend. And I was, and we all this talk and everything was swirling around that this was this and this was, and I was like, oh, no way, this isn't going to happen. We're going to be fine. But I really like booked heavy. But when we were at Scoop, I remember like I grabbed my phone and I'm like texting like all these friends of mine. Okay, hey, I'm doing this. Would you want to host the show? Oh, sure. So, I packed my calendar with shows. And so February and the first 2 weeks of March, I mean, it was pretty darn good. And I'm like, I was rolling. I was like right on, and my goal was set, and I was like right on target. And then this happened, and I just didn't even know what to think. I thought, okay, it's just going to be for 2 weeks and we're going to get back in. And then I started having my hostesses just call and start canceling. And, it was a little frustrating. I will, because I was like, wait, no, you don't understand. My goal is to get that award. I need to do this. And so I just was like, I'm not going to quit. We had to quit doing shows, but I figured out a way to kind of, get these people back in the loop and to keep buying. So
Carolyn, that's a great, sorry, Rebecca. I was just going to say that's a great transition into the first question I have for you, because this is the first time that you and I have actually met, which is interesting because I've been around a long time and I know a lot of stylists. So when you were talking about your athletes, I can hear my son's dumbbells dropping in my basement right now. And I'm thinking, okay, please do not come up and say you need to make your protein shake. So I can definitely relate to that and the craziness of the schedule juggling that you had to do. But as you were talking about really getting off and running and rolling, you brought up a really important point that I think is really a spectacular point. And then my second point, I'll lead into it. But you were talking about really front loading your season and really get going. And what I think so key about that is you didn't hesitate to wait. You didn't hesitate for people to come to you. You were really excited to bring this to them. And had you not done that, you would have never been able to carry yourself through the season. And I think often, no matter what type of business people are in, there's an insecurity of fear or fear of failure that sort of holds them back and pulls the reins. And they think, I'm just going to get my feet wet. Well, seeing what you did and knowing what you accomplished, I can only attribute that to you just diving straight in with both feet in the water. You were not hesitating. You didn't tread, you just went. So my second point that I wanted to ask you is, because of the pandemic that we got dealt with, and it was your first season, but you did have to figure things out and how to make them work. So what's the main contributing factor that you found that helped you pivot in your business? Because as you said, all of a sudden you couldn't do shows. And as a first season freshman, I doubt you had our front row platform because we were still piloting that at the moment. So can you go ahead and tell us what it was that helped you pivot and continue to go with your season when something really difficult hit?
Yes. So it was one of those things where, again, I'm tech savvy, not so much, and I'm still really working on Front Row, even, now going into my third season. And it was one of those things where I'm like, okay, I'm going to have to jump on some emails. I'm going to have to be very diligent with emails and, just continually to text message and call people. It helped the new arrivals because, those are always, everyone like covets the new arrivals. And so, and this is terrible to say, but I was like, I had enough guts at that point to like jump on and do I did a video and put it on my Facebook page. And of course it took me like 4 takes to do this video. And about the third time I did it, I had it all the way done. And my phone stopped recording, and I didn't know it. It was like one of those things where I'm like, you have to be kidding me. And of course, both my kids were home from college. And I was like, do not walk up these stairs. I am doing this taping. Do not bother me, So of course, when I started, I had great lighting upstairs. Everything was great. And by the time I got to the 4th take, it was dark like it is now. My ring light was brand new. I'm trying to figure that out. So I did that. And I think it really kind of, and now ask me if I've done that since. I'm going to start doing that again. But it really kind of got people that didn't know that I was doing cabi. They were like, oh my gosh, she's doing cabi. So I started getting text messages and saying, oh my gosh, yeah, I want to order this, this, and this. And so I was able to like continue. And one of the reasons that I was like, okay, yes, I was shooting for that goal of rookie of the season. That is obviously what I wanted. I wanted, very much. But I also, like I mentioned earlier, having these college kids home, they got yanked from their athletic seasons. And I knew that it was in my heart that I couldn't just sit around and mope and, complain about the fact that everything shut down this pandemic and woe is me and give up, because I didn't want my kids to give up, because they were very sad and depressed. That, my son was at a junior college at the time and he lost his spring season with his buddies. I mean, they all left without being able to say goodbye to each other. And he was borderline depressed. And my daughter was, couldn't run her track season. And so it was like one of those things where like, okay, yeah, we just got dealt a really crappy hand. And we have to keep going. This isn't something that we can't give up. It's mind over matter, and God never gives us anything that we cannot handle. So we can do this. And so that was, my goal of rookie of the season. Yes. But it was also my kids. I needed to show them that when things were tough, we got to keep going. You have to keep going. No matter what the situation, sitting in your bedroom and playing video games all day long isn't going to solve any problems. So that's kind of what it was. And then, I took to social media and, I'm trying to get better with that. My technical skills, or I don't know why I didn't use my daughter more when she was home on how to use Instagram better, because she's like a master at it. But I'm hoping.
Hindsight's 2020, right, Carolyn?
Mm-hmm. But we're going to work on that. Yeah, we're going to work on that. So.
Pun intended, Rebecca, on the 2020.
Oh, good
Right.
one. That's a good one.
Right. So through all of that, what's the biggest thing that you learned about yourself through this business and just the challenge that 2020 threw at us?
Well, like I said, before the kids were born, I used to teach, and, I was, I take whatever I do very seriously. And it's not something that if I'm going to do something, I'm not going to just, do it, dabble at it. So my whole thing is that if I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it. You just can't, do bits and pieces and think you're going to be successful. So that is, my advice to so many people, not just with cabi, even with my children. It's if you're going to do this, do something, don't do it halfway. You have to do it, and you have to, you just got to keep moving forward. And what I learned about myself is that after being out of the workplace for, gosh, it was like 17 years, I can still do this. It takes a little bit, I wouldn't say it was like automatically, here we go. I'm going to start right where I left off. It took some, discipline to like, okay, today you need to do this. Today you need to do this. And then I just told my team leader a couple days ago, the difference between this year getting ready for this season and last year is unbelievable. I mean, things just kind of fall into place. Like, oh, the new catalogs are here, stamp them. Okay, here, yeah, now let's do this. Let's get all these clothes hung up. I mean, getting my clothes, the samples hung up took me like 90 minutes. That's it. Whereas last year, it took me probably 6 hours to do it. So, I mean, it's, I don't know. I just learned that no matter how long you're out of the workforce, you can still, you can, it takes a little bit of time, but it's worth it. It's worth having that sense of belonging again, that I can contribute to the family again. So not that being a stay-at-home mom was probably the hardest job ever, but now I feel like, oh, look, I bought that for you. It wasn't your dad's money. It was mom's money. So yeah.
That's really rewarding. And you are so full of nuggets. My head is just rolling of things I want to talk to you about. But you did mention that you want it to be a business. And I think Rebecca and I would both agree that cabi is not a hobby. You can do it part-time and you can do it full-time and you can do it even a quarter of the time if you want, but it is a business that has to be worked. And I'm a big believer that although we have a fantastic brand that we represent, we actually create our own brand for who we are and how we conduct our own business. So those were some really great things that you said that I wanted to highlight. But also, I think being a stay-at-home mom probably really prepared you for this. And you were talking about how getting your samples out went from 6 hours to 90 minutes. Well, that's the great thing about this business is there's a lot of things that we can create habits out of, daily habits that help from season to season that don't necessarily change, although we get 100% new inventory. So would you mind sharing what some of your daily habits are that you really feel contribute to making your third season feel smoother and moving forward every season?
Yes. So my thing is in the morning, actually I think about it the night before, because that's one thing I always would tell my kids, to be the best at your mindset is make notes the night before, so that when you wake up in the morning, you know exactly what it is that you want to accomplish during that day. So like tomorrow is my cabi open house. And so for the last, ever since Scoop, I have been like, I started with, I would designate a day to, okay, this is the day that I'm going to call my hostesses and get my 10 shows booked, so that was amazing because it only took me probably, 40 minutes to get that was done. And so I'm like, oh, I had blocked off maybe, a couple hours for that, but that was finished. So then I'm already ahead of the game. So, so my catalogs and my samples, I don't worry about the catalogs right out of the gate. So I get my inventory and I immediately start, I only do one box at a time. And it's crazy how I do this. So I get the ones so one day I was like, okay, I laminate my tags. It's the teacher in me. In fact, I have a stylist friend in California who seriously laughs at me. So I was like, one day I was like, okay, this is what we're going to do today. We're going to laminate the tags and we're going to get them cut out and we're going to get them in order. So I laminate them and now they're in order according to the sheet on the inventory sheet.
I'm sensing a little blue in you, speaking of cabi lingo.
But when I did that whole color thing, blue was kind of like lower. It's the yellow. I'm very yellow.
Oh, you're talking to two yellow red girls right here, honey. So maybe
that blue is the teacher thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was a day. And then I was like, okay. And I have an assistant that is also, if you have an opportunity, any gal, if to have an assistant is a blessing. She doesn't necessarily help with any of this, but she would come over and help me unload the boxes. Well, I got it finished so quickly the day I asked her to come. It was like, she texted me and she goes, well, I won't be able to be there till like 1 in the afternoon. I'm like, I'm already almost finished, so don't worry about it. She was like, are you serious right now? And I said, yeah, I don't know. It's just because I had everything. It was just in which, I don't know. It was just like this systematic. I think the teacher in me is starting to, like, after 17 years, it's kind of starting to, because I worked with kids. That's all I did from like age 12 on, was work with kids and teach and help my mom with her preschool. And so this like organizational, all of a sudden started paying off. But yeah, then it's like, then that's done. And then if you designate at least a couple hours a day, then it really does keep you, what's the word I want? It keeps you not only motivated, but it also keeps you, so you don't lag behind, because it's hard to play catch up in that. You don't want to play catch up in this business. You want to stay, you don't necessarily have to be totally ahead, but just like keep on track with it, because then when it's time for a show, you're not, running around like a chicken with your head cut off. And right now my shows have to be virtual, which I'm not a big fan of, but you just have to designate at least a couple hours a day until it's like show day. And then show days are, you obviously have to spend a lot more time on show days. But yeah, if for those
discipline, consistency, day in and day out, and then you don't have to even think about it. It's just something that you do.
Automatic. Yes.
It sounds to me like you live and die off your calendar. And I think most of us do. We schedule down to the 2 free hours, and I'm really trying to elevate my blue for that, because I do find I can waste time better than anyone. Because I'm yellow. I'm dominantly a free flowing person. But when I have my goals, I really need to stay on top of that, because as you're right, things can really snowball quickly, especially if you run a full-time business. And so that's really great, Rebecca.
Well, a quote that is in a book that I'm reading that just really goes with what we're talking about here is from Michael Hyatt. And he says, effectiveness is not about getting more stuff done. It's about getting the right things done. And that's huge for me. So just throwing that out there. But okay, so in a couple different articles that I've read, there's either 2 or 4 million women that have left the workforce in the last year. That's due to many things. Obviously, a lot of it is because kids are at home. Somebody needs to be at home watching those. And sometimes it's just from job attrition. But there's a lot of women out there looking for some way to make extra income that is flexible, that they can work around their family. They can still create a real income with that. And let's face it, we are all needing connection. We're wanting to cultivate relationships again. And this business, to me, is a fantastic vehicle for that. But I would love to hear what's something you would tell a woman that's sitting there going, oh, I'd never thought of this as something I might pursue, but they're sitting there and these are things are resonating with them. What would you tell that woman that is just maybe beginning to think about this as an opportunity for them?
Well, obviously, I've always loved clothes, and I've always, I love being around people, but that's, to tell somebody, a gal who's, teetering on this, it is an amazing, the people that I have met through this is unbelievable. I thought I knew I've lived in Lawrence, Kansas since 1987. And I thought for certain that I knew just about everybody in this town. And I have met, like, I can't even, it's amazing. It's, and I have a good base, but I'm like, oh, you know, so-and-so, so-and-so. And it connects. So it gets you connected with people, and then you like might have lifelong friends from here on out. I also think that like I said earlier, it is very nice now to be able to say that, especially when I give a gift to my husband, that it's like actually not his money that I bought, So I'm like, that is actually from me now. It's not from your money. So I've never been somebody who has felt inferior that way. I've never like felt like, oh, your husband makes all the money. Doesn't that make you feel bad? No, because I raised the children. But I like the independence that it gives me. And it also, not that I ever worried about my daughter being able to go out and be independent and financially independent, because she's a very strong-willed child. I shouldn't call her a child. She's 19, but I want her to be able to, oh, look, mom, after she stayed home with us this whole time, and now she's going back. Look at, I can't believe this. This is so I wanted to set a role model. It's a good role model for, especially for ladies that, their kids they have daughters that are in, 8th grade, 9th grade. And I feel like it was a good, and actually for my son too. I mean, he's probably, relied on me a little bit more than my daughter did, because let's face it, sometimes guys, they kind of rely on their wives and their moms a little bit more than girls do. But so yeah, I think it's a really good opportunity. At least my advice, if they're thinking about it, shadow the person that it really was a great thing for me to do. And you're the leader or whoever's asking you, you work the show with them and do the checkout process, do the greeting process, and then you can kind of see, is this really for me or not? And that's when I think if I hadn't have done that, I'm not so certain I could have hit the ground running like I did. So, but that's something that I would really recommend to a lot of women. If just shadow for a season and see if it's really something because you'll see the amount of time it takes to do a show, the follow-up, and that, and in their head they might think, oh my gosh, it's going to be too much. But then once they do it, it's like, oh, it wasn't that bad after all. I could designate a couple hours a day. So yeah, that's probably what I would, think about the independence and obviously shadow and see if that's right for you.
I completely agree to that. I think there's a big fear of standing in front of the curtain and speaking to women, and that's part of that. I wanted to ask you, what's one thing that you have learned about yourself that you possibly didn't know or maybe forgot that you've learned from your cabi business? And I have to say, one thing, you were talking about being a good mentor for your daughter. My 10-year-old is my assistant, and she works right beside me. She stamps my books, she stuffs my invitations, she proofreads my invitations before they go in the envelope. She helps me do all the labeling, she unboxes my bags, she helps me learn and memorize. So I really do think that this is a business that, whether it's somebody new or your own daughter, they get to learn how to dig in and work, become organized, manage time. And it really is one of those things that I think is incredible in this day and age, to teach our daughters that yes, we can honor our spouse and our husband and be a mom, but also have that sense of pride of, I can do this and I do this really well. And being a mom is not my own identity. And so for me, that was really what has come out of my business, is the impact of the other women that I have come to know have helped bring value into my life. And now I can see that I have value to share with others. So returning back to my question, what is the one thing that you've discovered about yourself?
the funny thing is that when I taught, I never really, I never had a fear of getting up in front of, the kids or the parents even. And everything was great. Well, being home for 17 years, you don't have to do that anymore. You just kind of, and so I will admit the first time back up in front, and a year ago when I did my first show, I mean, my whole body was like shaking. And I'm like, oh my gosh, seriously, you need to take. And I remember having my team leader was there, which was, obviously nerve-wracking also. But I remember having my script cards and I was like, what are you doing? You seriously, and I actually threw them to the side during the show. And I was like, you've got this. You just pretend like they're 10-year-old kids all over again, and you can do this. So I think I've realized, I mean, I gained that little bit of the confidence back. I mean, I think you just kind of I didn't lose a sense of identity in the 17 years I stayed home, but I do think I lost some confidence on my ability to go out there and do something on my own. So I see a big, and especially in the year, obviously I can't do an in-person show probably until end of March. I think that's when but I kind of feel like I'm back on my game a little bit, with being able to speak in front of people. So yeah, it never was a problem. And then when I did that first show, I was like, oh my gosh, what's happened to me? So yeah.
Mama's got her mojo back.
Yeah, let's hope so. Yeah, let's hope so.
And I think that's because we're in front of women that they're our peers. And a lot of them, I mean, a lot of my clients are very professional working women that I admire and think, gosh, they have a lot of strength. And I'm not a formally educated person. I've always worked really hard. And so I didn't have a problem speaking in front of them either. I had to find out that I actually had education in different ways that I could also share. And I think when you're talking to your peers, that can be very intimidating. So it's finding your mojo, exactly what you're saying, is getting comfortable, owning your business, and owning that curtain and knowing that they're there to hear and listen to you. And I think that goes all the way back to what we were talking about. Yes, we represent cabi, but when we're in front of that curtain or when we're on a phone call, we are representing ourselves and the business that we choose to build.
Yep.
And truly, the training that cabi provides for us is second to none. And so we have women that are doctors, we have women that are attorneys, we've got women that are stay-at-home moms, we have stylists that are from all walks of life and all educational backgrounds. Some of them do have fashion and merchandising degrees, but I would say the majority do not. Many women are working this alongside another career, and it's their fun time or their, connect with other women time or adult time for home moms that are needing to just feel that connection with another woman. So it can mean so many things to so many different women. And it's not always about connection. Sometimes it's about finances. You may find yourself needing to fill some gaps in your family income, or you're the sole provider. So I just feel like it can be whatever it needs to be in your life.
Exactly.
Some just need some creativity. I think they work very mundane jobs, and that comes with the fun. But I know some of it, for some people, they just love the creativity and the flexibility of this. So yeah, I agree, Rebecca. That's a great point.
All right. Well, I know Carolyn has got to run out the door and get to choir practice, but we've got some rapid fire questions we would love to ask.
I love these.
Uh-oh, I'm nervous.
And we're just gonna bounce them to you. So we're not gonna answer them.
Okay.
Yes. All right. I'll start it off, and Amy, I'm just going to go off of our list you sent through.
Okay.
So with cabi, we have done the See Me profile, which if you're not familiar, those watching, it's a different type of personality analysis. And so tell us what yours is, Carolyn.
Mine's yellow, and mainly yellow and red. Those are the two main. Yes.
She's our girl, right?
Amy and I are red yellows as well. So I am red and then yellow and minuscule amounts of green and blue at natural state.
Give it to me straight and we'll laugh after. That's what I want.
Yep.
Okay. What is your style profile? What do you gravitate to? Romantic, classic, sporty, eclectic?
You know, I was just thinking about this the other day, which is so funny. If you looked in my closet right now, you'd be like, girl, you're all over the place. I would probably say that sporty would have to be number one just because of the athletics in this household. But lately it's been like kind of boho-y. I'm like, I don't know, but it like literally, I have something in my closet. It's like, oh, is this bad? Is this bad that I have so many different styles? I mean, I love cowboy stuff. I mean, I got my cowboy boots. I mean, I'm kind of all over the board.
We're both right there with you too. And I think as stylists, we really learn how to dress in those other profiles. So I don't think that's uncommon.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
okay, go ahead, Rebecca.
We definitely have to kind of step outside our boxes.
Yes.
Okay, favorite color?
Yellow.
You're Rebecca's girl.
I mean, seriously, ever since I was probably 9, yellow. I mean, my daughter's like, why yellow? I'm like, I don't know. It's just
happy.
It is. And then when that profile thing came back in yellow, I was like, that's kind of spooky. I mean, so.
See, and I've been waiting for cabi to come out with purples and lavenders forever because they had some years ago and then it kind of faded away. And this is.
Well, it's funny you say that. I know this is not a question, but my daughter attends Kansas State University, and I live in the town where it's the rival. We all went to KU. So she's the only one that went to K-State, and she's all purple. And I'm like, I'm never wearing purple. Don't even go there. And guess who's wearing purple? Yeah. Of course, it didn't help when the team leader was like, you look really good in purple. I'm like, oh.
Hey, it's the color of royalty, you know?
I know.
Okay, my next question. What is your favorite pastime?
Ooh, favorite pastime. Well, years ago, I loved a scrapbook, and I would love to get back to doing that. Don't know when that will be. I love to do that. I love listening to music. Obviously, I'm off to choir practice here in 5 minutes, but music is something that's always been near and dear to me. And my minor knitted at KU. And so I love music, and I wish I could play a sport. I love watching sports. Love watching sports.
I need to introduce you to my friend Gina Woods. She is a music instructor in her school, and she had her entire children's choir sing to the Sid Ryan Foundation. It was really cool.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah. Hey, Rebecca, I think we have time for one more each of us.
Sure. Favorite book?
I wish I could give you a favorite book right now. I haven't probably sat down and read a book in years.
Okay, give me your favorite food then.
Oh, pizza.
Okay.
You are my girl.
Okay, I'm torn because I'd love to know your favorite spring item, but I really want to know what's your absolutely must-have, you cannot live without beauty product.
Mascara.
Okay. Any certain brand?
The Thrive brand. Have you heard of Thrive?
Yes, I've seen it a lot. I've never bought it, but I've heard it's awesome.
I really do like the Thrive. I mean, I've been through multiple mascaras, and it's great. Yeah. Okay. And my Burt's Bees lip gloss.
You answered that one quickly. So tell us what your favorite spring item is.
One item is. So far, I mean, it could change by the end of the season.
I know.
It often does.
Right now, I would say it's probably, gosh, I am a little torn. I'm terrible about, what's the name of the green jacket?
Oh, the Mod
Bomber jacket.
The bomber.
That's an eye catcher for sure. It's going to sell out. Absolutely.
That and the Hop 2 hoodie, which is already on back order.
Better hop to it.
I did. I hopped on and got myself on the back order list. So
Well,
yeah,
with that, why don't we're going to thank you for joining it. For me, it was so nice to meet you and to hear about your story. And I hope to connect with you soon.
absolutely.
And Rebecca and I just want to remind everybody, if you're watching this on the recording, that we do our business conversations the first 2 Wednesdays of every month. And on Friday with our Style RX, we're going to be giving you a lesson in proportions with the new spring collection. So be sure to stop by our YouTube channel, Style RX, and subscribe and hit that bell so that you get notified every time we load a new video. Thanks for joining us. And Carolyn, we want to thank you so much for being our guest. You were a pleasure, and I hope you have an amazing evening with your family and enjoy your music.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. It was great to meet you. And Rebecca, good to see you again. I'll get to Clay Center soon and I'll hop over to Washington to see you.
Let's do it. Call me. I'll come down.
Okay, sounds good.
Thanks,
All
Carolyn.
right.
Have a
Goodbye.
great-
Thank you.
Bye-bye.